0702.
The car feature.
Time for our car feature. We take your calls on 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. And today we're talking about automotive skills shortages and changes for improving road safety and consumer protection. We're joined by the CEO of Strategy and Corporate Support for the RMI, that's the Retail Motor Industry Organization, Ipeleng Mabusela. And Ipeleng, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Relebogile, and thank you to your listeners.
Ipeleng, I just want to start off by just clarifying so that we are all brought up to speed and reminded about what the work that the RMI actually does.
Thank you for that. So the RMI, as you aptly described, the Retail Motor Industry Organization, is an African association that looks after the aftermarket for the automotive sector. So that's everything from the time your car is born, so when it's made, say in a factory, up until the time it dies and it ends up in a graveyard. So that includes
this got dark so quickly, from birth to death.
It's the best example I can give, right? So it covers things like dealerships, workshops if you want to take your car in for a service,
yes,
fuel stations, all the tire guys, panel beaters and vehicle testing, as well as, engine remanufacturing. So that's the scope within that we cover. We look at about 2% of the GDP is the aftermarket for the automotive sector, so quite significant. We represent 8,500 odd small to medium-sized businesses, spanning 170,000 odd jobs. So I think quite a critical part of the country and the automotive sector in particular.
Ipeleng, I was told by one of our guests in a car feature 2 weeks ago that the old term was panel beaters, but it from back in the days. I said, what do you mean? And so remind us, what is the current term of panel beaters?
Is now motor body repairers.
There we go. Thank you. We must,
right,
we're here to keep up to date. Auto body repairs, guys. Stop saying panel beater. You are old school. Okay. So now when we look at the skills shortages, which I think is quite an important conversation, what would you say are the key areas where we are truly lacking in skills?
So we have an interesting challenge. Our artisans, not only automotive sector, but I guess in mining as well, are in high demand global level, and they're being taken up. Yet we are not producing enough for ourselves. So we have this bit of drain going on, and us not being able to produce them. Even in engagements with Mesita, for the colleagues on the call, Mesita is one of the arms of government that looks after funding within the various industries. Mesita looks after engineering and medical. So when we engage with them, show in their graphs that there's a shortage. Yeah, they need to have such a number by 2030 of artisans, and we're nowhere near that. We are working with them as well as others. For example, we've got a program called the Short Skills Program that to do sort of many small courses to get people who are already within the sector upskilled, and also to try and see how we can outside the sector into the sector. So that was all challenges. The other one is there's a bit of a mismatch between what's happening at our colleges, versus what's happening on the ground. So they're more from technical training, which is more theoretical, to more what's called vocational training, which is more hands-on, and to align that training to be proof. There's electric vehicles coming, and our current skill set is for, diesel and petrol engines, and we need to be ready for that. We as the RMI are working with some, local as well as some government entities like some German counterparts like Porsche and so forth. How we can try to make our training and education future-proof. So the program we're embarking on to train the lecturers, to train the students, because the study that will be the next 2 weeks or so show that if themselves are not empowered, they themselves don't understand electric vehicles, never even seen one, how will they even train or weaken that?
Okay, I don't know how to say this in English right now, but when we speak about skills shortages and all of those you've raised, what's that in English? Where are we not winning? Where are we not winning this battle of getting more young people into these spaces? Is it a general artisanal issue or a technical issue where many young people are not being brought into the spaces and the spaces available where people were training are no longer there, or is it specific to the automotive industry that it's not a sexy job to be like, I want to learn how to fix cars?
Yeah, and you've got it right there, Owen. Firstly, we make the sector attractive or sexy for our young people. People don't get dirty, be fiddling with oil leaking from an engine and so forth. So we're doing some initiatives around the country to get people to understand what the sector is about, that it's beyond just fixing cars. There's other things, right? You could be in sales, you could be in marketing, you could be at a head office of like for a BMW, for example.
Yes.
So that's one of the things we're trying to do to do roadshows at various high schools, technical high schools across the country to help people, and the youth understand what opportunities exist. So that's the first problem. The second problem is they want to come in, they don't know what to study. What course should I be doing? Should I be doing it? We do have a lack of chief at colleges throughout the country. We also have a lack of certain specific auto qualifications, right? That we're trying to work on with the Department of Higher Education to get those in place. And then finally, once you are trained, one needs to be the right training. So you're not training for something of the past, said with electric vehicles coming. Then lastly is then absorb you. How do we match all these young people, all the jobs on the other end, right? And with that, we're looking at the likes of to see how we can. They have a nice platform for thinking young people jobs, to see how we can do that at a sector-wide perspective, not just one employer at a time.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we continue with our car feature.
702. The car feature.
8 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue with our car feature with Ipeleng Mabusela, CEO of Strategy and Corporate Support for the Retail Motor Industry Organization, as we chat about automotive skills shortages and changes for improving road safety and consumer protection. Your calls on 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. Now, we've already touched on skills shortages and addressed Hore Ho Gana Kae. So if you don't know Setswana, we are saying, where are things not working when it comes to skills shortages? Now let us jump, Ipeleng, to the changes for improving road safety and consumer protection.
Thank you for that. We have a new Minister of Transport that's come through.
Are you excited? Are you excited?
We're excited. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to collaborating with her and her department. I saw that recently, she spoke about, fatal crashes, 10,000 fatal crashes a year in South Africa, amounting to about 3% of GDP. And that's in line with where we were thinking about how do we improve that, right? Look, one of the things that we can do is to talk about periodic testing. Now, you and I, we don't like taking our cars anywhere for any sort of testing, never mind the license test that we have to get every year, and eye tests and all of those things.
Yes.
But global studies show that it's important that, as vehicles get tested, especially old vehicles, 10 years and older, there's a correlation between doing testing versus the reduction in road fatalities. And I think that's something that we want to call on the minister to engage us on, that we can look at trying to see how we can implement that. There is a policy in place, by the way, for this, that was approved 10 years ago, but that was never really implemented. They didn't put an implementation date. As to the why, we'll have to engage the ministry on that. But I think there's now the time to act, right? To begin to implement that, to see how you and I can be safer on our roads if our cars are properly tested, especially if we have very, very old cars, our tires, our brakes, our lights, all of these things. The RMI has a cohort of vehicle testing stations across the country that can do this for us, and we can think about innovative ways so that you and I don't have the pain of I have to take this, wait in some line. We can find some nice business models to be able to alleviate that pain and help us to save lives. Yeah?
How can we use technology to also participate in this conversation? Because you speak about the convenience of being able to do things, and I think strides have been made in the department where they've got other places you can get your license disc renewed, things like that. And I look at, for example, last year I think I did it online and it just got delivered to my house. I was like, wow, my license disc is here. It was that simple and easy. What are the other ways that you think we could be looking at improving the retail motor industry as a whole using technology?
Relebogile, you're 100% spot on. I mean, I also got my license this yesterday, and I ordered it through one of the banks. So partnerships between, the Department of Transport as well as ourselves, as an example of, a private entity, is quite key. There's something else called a vehicle salvage database, from a technology point of view, which is a list of all the vehicles with their VIN numbers that have been in accidents, and sort of classified as the kind of accident or how badly damaged the car was. That information is not publicly available, which is quite challenging. So there's a plea for transparency there. So that when you and I want to buy our vehicles, our secondhand vehicles, and we can be aware of, to the extent to which this car was damaged. The current danger is you and I are none the wiser. And if we get into an accident again, perhaps something isn't properly repaired. And for why I say that is, it's possible that an insurer says, this car, you cannot repair this car economically. It doesn't make sense. That car, instead of that car, being scrapped and so forth, somebody else buys it.
You glue it back together.
Cut corners, use some sticky tape, some Pritt, and then you sell it to me, not knowing that the airbag doesn't work. So we need some transparency on this vehicle salvage database from a technology point of view, so that all of us can be better informed, and then eventually we can make better decisions. And we can hold various, entities, people, insurers, etc., accountable for what happens to us. So that's quite key.
There's a WhatsApp message here from Wayne in Rand Park Ridge. Relebogile, thanks for a great show. It comes as a surprise that your guest mentions a skills shortage. I travel to areas such as Roslyn, which is surrounded by car manufacturers. It also has a vet college in the area. The question is, what is being done to attract youth and school leavers, which you already touched on, Ipeleng? We need to create awareness and excitement at schools from the onset. My question is, what's being done at this level to attract youth? So beyond, Ipeleng, as we wrap up, beyond, the schools road shows, if you call it that, what are the other things? Because I also don't want it to just be youth. There are people who are not youth, that are not doing anything, that are ready and available and willing to pivot to doing something else.
Absolutely. I mean, to your point earlier about the use of technology, we have to, one, people need to be educated about what's available, but two, we need to be able to find, let's call it a marketplace between potential employers as well as potential employees, so they can find each other. Today, it's a bit of put something online and hope people see it and hope people apply. And then you get all the applications, but the applications don't really match what you're looking for. So you have to find a good way to sort of bridge this gap. And I think partnerships between government, the private sector and the public can go a long way. There were in the past with the DTIC some various things that were called the Executive Oversight Committee, looking at transformation and training. We need to sort of bring those things, still exist, but need to bring them to the fore and have better collaboration across the sector to sort of bridge these gaps.
Ipeleng, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. If you'd like more information on the RMI, head over to rmi.org.za.